Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all are doing well, and we are here again with another Warpforge video going over a faction that has a little bit of, I don't know, drama is not the right word, but has a bit of a spotlight, shall we say, which is the Aeldari. And before I get into the deck, as we have been going through these videos, let me know if that's been helpful for y'all. I do like to, especially when I'm first going over something, explain, the core concepts for the cards and kind of why we're constructing our deck. But kind of the big disclaimer here, and before I get into that, because I always run away with it, please don't forget to comment, like, or subscribe. All of it helps with the algorithm and just get stuff out there. Also, I love to hear from y'all, whether it's comments or whether it's about the deck, about the game, first impressions, where you're at with it, hopes and dreams, all that good stuff. Because I really like interacting with folks, getting to know folks on the Discord for Warpforge. And there's more and more players getting keys, alpha keys, so that's really, really exciting. So don't forget to do all that good stuff. It really means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. So the spotlight or drama around the Aeldari is that in the article that Warpforge had put out in the demos when the Aeldari were first released and you could play the stock decks, was that they had something like a 68% win rate, and I think the second highest after that was somewhere in the high 50s, so a really clear standout. And before they went into the closed alpha, they immediately tweaked a lot of cards. So cards that had, good example, I think is Fire Prism, actually. So I think the cost is the same. I think they might have downgraded the ranged attack, and it used to do rally deal 4 damage when it comes into play. Now it deals 3. So I think the Warpforge team did realize that the Aeldari were coming in hot and strong with all their really good vehicle, flank, flying, sniper synergies. And even just in the Discord the other day, there was some healthy debate going on. Are Aeldari still just by far and away the best deck? My take right now, and granted I haven't played all that much Aeldari in general, but also I'll caveat this by saying I don't have many legendaries. I do have Dance of Death, which is excellent, right? You're giving your Warlord a permanent Shuriken too. It doesn't feel like a whole lot, and for those of you who don't know what Shuriken is, it deals X damage before an attack is resolved. So it just means if anything has 2 health, you're killing it, your Warlord is taking no retaliation damage. So it's a really, really strong ability. Even in small pieces, it's good because if you have a couple units all with Shuriken, you can basically stack those abilities up so that you leave your strongest cards kind of untouched in terms of retaliation damage. This is the only legendary that I have. I do have I think maybe 1 epic and then a bunch of greens. I think there are legendaries in the Aeldari, even the Warlord, who starts with a Z, blanking on his name right now, but he's riding a vehicle. Sometimes the graphic comes up. Actually, I think if we go to practice, we go to Aeldari. Where are we? Sorry, Aeldari. There we go. Right. LEX Zephyrblade. This guy is, his passive ability is that you get 1 Shuriken, just give it to a unit. Also, Wild Host, this card is really strong. It's a legendary. It's flying flank. When it attacks, give adjacent, it's either vehicles or units invulnerable, which means they can't take damage. It's obviously pretty strong. So I don't want to invalidate the players who are maybe feeling a little, let's say, underwhelmed by other decks, and that they're just feeling that I don't want to minimize their experience. However, I will say what's clear to me for the most part about most Aeldari builds is, and with this particular Warlord, you're kind of spamming your ability, and we'll talk about that in a second. So although I have like a couple 1s and 2s here, pretty much the curve just starts from 3 on up. There's a lot of 4s, a lot of 5s, and then some late game cards, because you just are getting not a free unit, but you're getting a unit with your ephemeral card every single turn. And to me, it plays more like control. Like you're making your opponent have to kill your units, have to kill your waystones. For those who don't know what a waystone is, I should explain that. When this unit dies, it leaves behind a spirit stone that can be collected. Just like Necrons, if you've seen that gameplay, when they die and they can come back with their reanimate ability, you can attack it before that happens, and it destroys the waystone or it destroys the reanimated. It gets rid of the Necron permanently. Waystones are basically a secondary currency, or like energy, essentially, for the deck that powers up different cards. Good example, getting a little preview of the deck before we fully go into it. Hemlock Wraithfighter. So it's flying flank, 3/8, 8 health. Obviously, this thing does a lot when it comes into play. But if we have 3 Spirit Stones, it'll just take them and consume them, and then it gets blast 5. So you get to hit something for 8, and then AoE blast 5. So it's really impactful. Obviously, having 3 Waystones by turn 8, pretty doable. But you're using Waystones for like other abilities. And again, if your opponent has, a way to kill your Waystones pretty easily without sacrificing too much on what they're doing, it can really stop Eldar from having a good amount of power. And that's, sorry, I took a bit of a detour here. What I think has been good into Eldar, now granted it's mostly been bot games because there's still not quite enough people playing, at least at the times I'm playing, is an aggressive strategy. So the Space Marines aggro deck that we talked about, the Chaos kind of mid-range deck that we talked about, I think both have ways of commanding the board really easily. Harkin and Uriel specifically, I think, are good because Harkin is able to do that blast damage, and so you're getting to attack the Warlord or the unit, depending on which sort of makes sense in terms of how much damage you're taking. And you're getting rid of the Waystones, you're getting rid of these like little units that they're dropping every turn. And really, I think the power in this deck is in the late game. It's like once you start landing like big vehicle after big vehicle, that just kind of like can't be killed easily by your opponent because they all have flying and they have high ranged damage. So unless your opponent has like a big beefy Chaos unit that's able to withstand it, most of the time they're going to have to trade like 2 for 1 to take out stuff like Fire Prism, like Hemlock Wraithfighter. So, I think clearly Eldar just scale really, really well into the late game. I think that's a clear strength of theirs. And they also just have some, the flying flank sniper interactions, shuriken, that really allow them to have a little bit more bang for their buck on their cards. However, they did nerf a lot of them. I think it was 5 or 6 cards within the Eldar. And I only have the starter Warlord so far. Haven't opened up anything else. So who knows? Maybe the Zephyr Blade guy is just really overtuned. I'm not really sure. So that's a long way of saying I think Eldar are more middle of the pack, maybe a little bit powerful, but I don't feel like they're far and away the best faction. Like, unless you're running specific cards like I am, like Eldritch Storm, I think that this deck is going to have a really hard time dealing with a go-wide strategy, like the Orc combo deck. I also think that it's not really able to keep up with Space Marines if they have a pretty good draw. But without further ado, let's actually talk about what the deck is actually doing, and let's talk about our Warlord. So, Madrell Galen, her talent is Path of Command, which is a card that costs 2 energy to get a Storm Guardian. So, this is what I mean. You get basically a unit you could just, play out every turn. And it's pretty good too. So it's got 2 health. It's always going to get taken out by your opponent's Warlord. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. It's got Shuriken 1 and a Waystone. So in the early game, your opponent's Warlord is going to be highly incentivized to just kill your unit every turn. However, if they don't have a follow-up unit or an ability to kill your Waystone, they're basically killing your unit, taking 1 damage, right? Because they're gonna use the ranged attack, And then you get a Waystone at the start of your next turn. And you keep doing that. And there will be turns that once you start also playing your 2 energy card plus your 3 drop, plus your 4 drop, plus your 5 drop, right? Where even if a Stormguard actually doesn't die, then the next turn it gets to, hit your opponent for 3, die, and you collect the Waystone the same turn. Which is like totally fine. So I do think with this kind of deck, with this specific Warlord, you're pretty much almost always playing out your ability, because it's a free unit that your opponent has to deal with, and it's essentially free Waystones if they don't have a way to kill the Waystone. So I think the way to make things tougher on Madrail is to just do as much damage to her face as possible while being able to manage the little ground units that she has in the early game. Speaking of which, we have a few. So we've got Guardian Defender. I don't know if this card's that good, but it's really cheap for what you get. And the fact that you can combo it with like turn 2, make your guy. Turn 3, make a guy play this guy. Or like, turn 4, play a 3-drop, play a Guardian Defender. The reason I think it's fine is because if it doesn't die, it's attacking for 4, because it's got Shuriken 2 and it's got 2 ranged attacks. So 4 damage for 1 energy, not bad. And you get a Waystone, right? So it's all about like, you have these cheap cards that spot you Waystones pretty easily. Your opponent's going to be incentivized to kill them and spend their health on that, not attacking your Warlord. And of course, like AoE damage is going to be pretty good, but you also scale pretty well into late game. So you've got these kind of like curve fillers in the beginning. There's also Veteran Guardian, which is kind of your stock 2 energy unit that will hopefully survive 1 Warlord attack. So it's 3 health, right? So they have to do a little bit more work to kill it. Shuriken 1, so it's attacking for 3, not bad. Waystone, right? So obviously another way to get a Waystone early. Now here's the first example of a card that uses a Waystone in the early game, which is Warlock. I think this card's fine. I'm not super concerned with like going wide and buffing all my creatures, but it's kind of an efficient 2-drop because it's 2 energy, 2/2, 2 health. It makes a Waystone when it dies, and for 1 Waystone, you give all your troops +1 at ranged attack, +1 health. Sometimes that makes a difference. Sometimes you just get to play it on 2 as a 3/3/3, which seems pretty serviceable to me. So I've got 1 of that. So obviously you notice we only have 5 early game, 2 cost, 1 cost cards, because we don't really need them. And then we're going to get up into the rest of the game plan. Banshee Mask, as I said, I don't have a lot of legendaries for this deck. I do have some greens, don't really have that many purples. So I'm sure there are cards in here that might seem questionable to people who have like bigger collections than me. But I think a card like Banshee Mask is totally fine. 3 damage for 3 energy I think is okay. And then on the off chance that you're not able to kill the unit, you stun it. And the reason I think Banshee Mask is totally serviceable as like a removal spell is that like many of your units have Shuriken. So if it's a 5 health card, most of your units have Shuriken 2, Shuriken 1. It's going to be really easy for you to finish it off. And if you just need to stun something that's big that you can't kill, then you have the option to do that for 3 energy. Shroud Runner, I had kind of gone on and off with this card, but I actually think it shores up some of the early game weaknesses of the Aeldari. And so there's some interesting things to note here. So it's 3 energy for a 1/3, 2 health, gonna easily die, right? But it's got Flying Flank and Sniper, right? So when doing a ranged attack, enemies killed don't retaliate. So it's got 3 ranged attack, Flying Flank, Sniper. So usually the play pattern with this is it comes in, kills your opponent's like 2 or 3 drop. You don't take any retaliate damage, and then your opponent has to waste an attack on the Shroud Runner to kill it. And so that means they're going to take 3 damage to kill your Shroud Runner, and it's just a straight 2-for-1, because you've killed their unit for free with the Sniper ability and the Flying and Flank, and then they have to turn around and spend resources to kill it as well. So I think Shroud Runner is kind of a good curve filler in the early game, and I kind of slept on it for a little bit, but I think I've liked it more and more. Warp Spider I like for a lot of reasons. It's a really cool unit, and I remember the Warp Spiders in Warhammer 40k. I would definitely be running 2 of this card if I had it. Sadly, I only have 1. But it's 3 energy, 3 health, 4/2, right? So it's doing a lot of damage in terms of the physical damage. It's got Waystone, it's got Stealth, and when you strike, it returns to your hand. So there's a lot of play to this card. You can just straight up sacrifice it to kill something, collect the Waystone. You can just keep it on the board, not attack with it, wait, to get the value that you want. Or I think a lot of times you could just hit their Warlord for 4, it returns to your hand, or hit their unit for 4, return it to your hand if your guy doesn't die. I think what's annoying about Warp Spider is you have a lot of decisions that you can make. Whether it's I need a Waystone and a way to deal 4 damage, or I want to kill one of their things for free, deal 4 damage for free, and get it back. I think Warp Spider is pretty nice. Wild Toast I'm running because it's just what I think is a good kind of draw spell in the deck. Most decks have like a draw 2, draw 3 kind of mechanic. Wild Toast is basically the same. So you're going to create 2 random vehicles, and they each cost 1 less. Sometimes random is good, right? Because it allows you to maybe get I don't really know how the RNG works in the game yet. Like maybe you can get a random like rare vehicle or legendary vehicle or something like that. So far it's pretty good. Like you're pretty happy when you play this on turn 3 or a little bit later and just get like a 5-drop vehicle, 6-drop vehicle that are just like, going to be hard for your opponent to deal with. So I think playing 2 Wild Toast is, just kind of building out your kind of late game here. Dance of Death, I kind of explained, just really powerful to have on your Warlord. You could put it on a unit, but obviously your unit's more likely to die. So just giving your Warlord permanent Shuriken 2, pretty excellent, I think. Eldritch Storm, I was talking with Doles, who's a really great player and has been playing a ton of the game. Their advice was you just kind of need to play this card because of like Necrons and Orcs, and even like Space Marines kind of goes wide with different units. And just the ability to do 1 to 3 damage to all enemies and then repeat it again. It's a good like small sweeper for the deck. And I was trying 1, but I think 2 is probably what I want. So I did make some tweaks before the video because I really wanted to kind of present from my collection what I think is the best deck. Howling Banshee. Oh, this card. When I first read this, I was like, is this that good for 4 energy? And then I was like, yeah, this is really good, and I would love to have 2 of it in my deck. So let's explain why. 4 health, 4 energy, 4 attack, 2 ranged, Waystone, flank, rally, stun an enemy. This thing's just sick. What you get to do is play it, kill whatever kind of weak unit they have, stun another unit, stun their Warlord, and then you get another attack off for 4 damage, collect your Waystone. It's just, in my mind, it's kind of like a 3-for-1. You get to eat something, hopefully, stun something, actually 4-for-1 in a sense. Deal 4 damage the following turn, collect your Waystone. So I think Howling Banshee it's just like a sick turn 4 play. It's just one of the better things you could be doing. Spirit Seer, I've just generally liked because I've chosen to not run like really Vanguard units in the deck, because I think the Vanguard units for Eldar specifically are not that great. However, there is, I believe, a rare or legendary card that says make a this unit, the Wraith Guard. It's like make a Wraith Guard for every Spirit Stone you have, which is really, really powerful, especially when you're turbo collecting Spirit Stones in the early game. But I like Spirit Seer because it's obviously a 2-for-1. You get a 4/4/4 up front. 2 Waystones, not too hard to collect by turn 4. You get a Wraith Guard. If you have an additional 2, it becomes a 4 or a 5 ranged attack plus 6 health Vanguard unit. So I'm kind of using the Spirit Seer as a way to spot myself Vanguard units without having to actually play them in my deck in the 4-drop slot, because we've got a lot of really good 4-drops. The last card is Viper. This card's interesting. I was talking about this with some other people in the Discord too. It's just really well statted. So it's 4 energy, 4 health, so likely to survive 1 attack, right? Flying Shuriken 3. So it doesn't have flank, it doesn't have sniper, right? But generally what can happen is you play it, Your opponent needs to send some ranged attack at it, and if they don't kill it, this thing is dealing 6 range damage to something for 4 energy, with 4 health. I think it is just a really solid early game vehicle card, and I think that's why it's worth playing. So now we kind of get into more of the late game play. Crimson Hunter, I've been really happy with this card. I don't think they changed it. You know what? They actually, I think, nerfed it from 5 range to 4, if I'm not mistaken. Flying, rally, deal 3 damage to an enemy when it comes into play. If it has flying, deal 6 damage instead. They actually changed it. I think it used to be, if it's a vehicle, deal 6 damage instead. And they made it a little bit, I would say vehicle card type is pretty common. Flying is common in some ways, but I think they made the switch so that it's not able to do so much damage to certain units. But I love this card. You play it for 5, it's going to deal 3 to something minimum, and then like it's pretty easy for your warlord or some other unit to finish something off. And then it's got 5 health. So, if your opponent wants to kill it, they're going to have to take, probably at least 2 attacks of 4 ranged. And I just find the rally deal 3, rally deal 4 cards pretty strong. Because it just enables all your shuriken abilities pretty easily. And you get to choose where the 3 damage goes. If you're going aggro, you can hit their face. If you just need to control the board, which I feel like most of the time you are, you just get to do that off of your Crimson Hunter. So I've been really happy with that. Infinity Circuit, I did open. I'm kind of testing it. Still not sure it belongs necessarily in this build. I think there are other builds that could take more advantage of it with certain cards. But it's just 5 energy, get 5 Spirit Stones. I think in some parts of the game, this can be incredibly impactful for your late game. It also might be a little bit of a dead card in certain scenarios if you're getting beaten down. So I'll be real, I don't know that this necessarily belongs, but I definitely wanted to try it because it's kind of like pay 5 energy to get 5 energy later for what your units kind of want. And then I opened this recently, which is cool. Warlock Skyrunner, which kind of a sick combo if you go Warlock Skyrunner and then play your Infinity Circuit, because whenever you collect a Spirit Stone, it deals 1 to 3 damage to a random enemy. It's 5 health, 5 attack, 3 ranged, just like pretty well statted all around. And you've got some of the synergy with Spirit Stones, which seems pretty fine to be running. Now we get into kind of the final curve toppers, which I've been pretty happy with. I do have cards that are a little bit more costly, but I think we're running a good package here. Fire Prism, they did nerf this. Still think it's great. 7 energy, 6 health, 6 attack. Flying comes into play, deals 3 damage. I really think these rally abilities are pretty solid. Winged Autarch, I did open. I'm kind of trying it out. In certain board states, it's definitely felt pretty good. It's got Waystone, it's a 7/5, it's got 7 health. All your flying units have +2 melee, +2 ranged attacks. So it just, if you're able to go like Viper turn 4, the Crimson Hunter turn 5, maybe into another, vehicle or something, and then you slam Winged Autarch. Exarch. I don't know why I wanted to say that. Autarch. Then just you have this like super team of flyers that's just going to like destroy your opponent. And I think like for its stats, you're getting quite a bit out of it. Hemlock Wraithfighter, this thing is just always good. It's huge. It comes down, it's flying, it's dealing 8, and it's not hard to get those 3, set up those 3 Waystones, the Spirit Stones, and just blast your opponent's board for 5, which is basically like a mini board sweeper by itself. And then kind of the ultimate curve topper here, Wailing Doom. Deal 8 damage to an enemy, and then for 2 Waystones, obviously by turn 8, pretty doable. Deal 4 damage to units adjacent to the target. I actually haven't gotten to play this card in-game that much, but I've had it played against me, and it does feel like just a really great way to close out the game and maybe just like deal a ton of damage to your opponent's warlord when they might have thought that they were safe, or just take out a big Vanguard unit and blast out to sort of get through the last damage that you need. So that is the Aeldari. So let's just let's play some games, see how it goes. Maybe we'll get some real people might just be bots, but let me know what you think of the build. I think there are probably other builds with some of the legendary cards that are just a bit more powerful. But so far I've been pretty happy with it. So, all right. Looks like a Tyranid bot. Be willing to bet. Okay, we've got Banshee, which is excellent. We've got Aeldari. I think I'm just going to mull these just to see if we can get a little bit early game action. Nice.
Cleanse this place.
All right. Sweet, we actually have kind of a nice curve here, but we're not even going to curve out. We're just going to probably spam our ability for a while. So yeah, we're just going to, although we could play Warlock, there's no real benefit to. It's honestly better later anyway, when we have Waystones to set it up. So we're just going to Path of Command here. And I like to keep my life total as high as possible, because the deck does take some setup, so I'm not going to attack here. We're also down 5 life playing against Turvagon, so I'm not really looking to spend too many resources here. What I hate about the bots, though, is they just spew, usually, the like, counter-attack cards. And Tyranids have one of the better counterattacks. Like, making a whole unit cost 2 less when you're on the draw is, like, pretty noticeable. Actually, sound effects are a little bit loud. Turn that down a little bit. Alright, so this is what happens. They weren't able to kill the Waystone. Now I just get to collect it, add it to the counter over here. And now we could go Warp Spider, or we could kind of go a little bit wider. Since I don't really have a great target for Warp Spider, I'm just going to go 1 drop and 2 drop, and I'm just going to punch this unit to keep ahead on board. And what's great now is, like, they can only attack one of these, and we're going to get a Waystone. So it's kind of a nice turn 3 play, I think. And then we could choose if we want to go Spirit Seer to get our 2-for-1, or we could just play Howling Banshee, which I think is going to be the choice because we've got a really good target for Howling Banshee this turn. And this we can kill for free. So we get to Banshee. I'm going to stun the Warlord. Take this out so they can't make any more. And then we get to kill this for free. And then I'm actually going to basically sacrifice attack here. Deal 3 damage. And then collect my Waystone. Pretty happy with this. This doesn't even get to attack our unit because it's stunned. Banshee is so good. This card is like so impressive. I don't know how I thought it wasn't that good when I first started. Okay, well, nothing we could do about the Von Ryan's Leaper, which is a really scary card. I think it's one of the scariest cards to have for Tyranids because it could just do so much damage and you can't interact with it because it has stealth. So we've got 5 energy here. We could definitely do quite a lot. We're going to get our attack here. I think the way I want to play this is because don't want to play our 4-drop. It's either Warp Spider in our passive or Wild Toast. Warp Spider will trade and kill this next turn. So I think I'm gonna do that. Just to kind of guarantee taking the Von Ryan Leaper off the board. And here we'll just go for our damage. Now we're even. I'm just gonna punch here. The next turn we've got a good like Spirit Seer potentially into our passive. We could do Wild Toast Banshee Mask. Okay, they've got another stealth unit that's going to do a lot of damage, unfortunately. But that is okay. We can actually save ours. Oh, right, I forgot stealth isn't permanent, Tim. Well, this is a great turn to play Spirit Seer because we're going to get our ability to have Vanguard and save some health. Here I'm happy to just cash. Well, I actually don't even have to cash this in. I could just kill this for free, which is really nice. I guess I could just hit this, send it back to my hand. And then I'm just going to Spirit Seer. And we get both upgrades here, which is really nice. Oh, it actually doesn't count when it comes in. Okay, that's actually something I learned. So now I can buff their ranged health if I want to. Actually got quite a nice board here, so question is, do I want to use my Waystone? So I've got Wraith Fighter that can come down later. I think I'm happy to just spam my ability here. Still ahead on life. And we get to absorb the damage from the Death Leaper, which is really nice. Okay, well. AI putting stealth on a unit that's about to attack is not how you should play that. Another Death Leaper. These things are pretty damn scary, I will say. Can really do quite a lot. Okay, we've got our Waystone, which is nice. Oh, so it maintains stealth after an attack. Okay, so I guess that's how that works. Alright, well this is great. Crimson Hunter was a great draw. As now we get to take out one of the Fun Run Leapers. Oh! Oh right, stealth. I forget stealth also means it cannot be targeted at all. Alright, so we don't really have a way to protect ourselves, so that is unfortunate. We are just going to attack. I don't think I'm going to trade health here now because there's not a huge benefit to. I think we're going to do the same thing though. I mean, this is just probably the most cost-efficient turn. Hit face. Keep adding units. Now that they don't have stealth, we can start doing stuff. And we've got the Hemlock Wraith fighter next turn, which is pretty huge. Hive Tyrant. Yeah, this guy's big. Yeah, it's a lot of damage to our Warlord. Pretty scary. Pretty excited, honestly, to play some Tyranids soon, because I think they have a very unique playstyle. Okay, well we've got our stones, and we've just got a Wraith Fighter that can do a whole hell of a lot. So I think that's just going to be the play. We don't even have to we don't even have to take much damage here, because we can hit this for free, blast out 5, and then we can just trade this guy to kill their big tyrant. And then we actually would have had lethal if our attack were able to get through last turn. Or if our Warlord was able to attack. So yeah, that's kind of generally how this plays out. I mean, you're kind of just treading water in the early game, trying not to fall too far behind. And then your vehicles and like the Waystones that you have should be able to just carry you. And even if they had some big like Vanguard unit, we just drop Winged Autarch, and these things just get even bigger. It's really crazy. Nice, nice. Farm some gold. Alright, let's hop back in for another one. Okay, playing against the Orcs. I believe it is a bot. Alright, definitely going to throw back the 7-drop, but these look fine to keep for some early game. Alright, Fire Prison, whatever. You just want to be played, I guess, this turn. This is actually the only other Warlord that I have that wasn't from the starter that we got. I just haven't opened many, which kind of sucks, because the Warlords really influence how you can build your deck. But I think this is a cool Warlord ability, too. Alright, nothing to really think about here. Just going to play our guy and pass. So even if they want to use their passive ability and kill my little guy, he's still going to take 1 damage, and we still get the Waystone. So, pretty solid. Oh, sweet. And he played this out with units, which I don't think that's how you use this card. I think you want to play Bomb Squig, and I have it in the Orc video, just to slow down your opponent's development. Because if you're losing units to this thing, it's not great. So we're going to attack that first. Hopefully kills their own grot and deals me damage. Yep. Not really what you want to be doing. Gotta be honest. Alright, let's play our Guardian Defender, because the thing about these small units is they're just going to soak up a little bit of damage, a little bit of pressure, and it's going to allow us to accumulate our Waystones and, you know, just have some really nice options in the late game. This turn, though, they can kill at least one Waystone. Yeah. And I think unless it really messes up your line of play, you probably should kill Waystones. Like, that's why Uriel's so great, because you just kill the units, use your passive, kill the Waystones. So that's why I think that he actually has a pretty good game. All right. We don't have any great turn 4 plays, but we've got 2/2 drops we can play, which is totally serviceable. And then maybe next turn we'll Wild Host plus our passive. And obviously just kill their biggest unit. Nice trade of health, and pass the turn. Shooter Boy's not bad. So they can punch here to get some extra damage. Ooh, Makari the Grot. That's a cool one. I would love to have that for my orc deck. Pretty sweet. Alright. Took one Waystone off the board. That is fine. Okay, how do we want to play this turn? Actually, I think we might maneuver a little bit. I definitely want to get Shooter Boy off the board. This card's excellent, so why don't we... There's no way for me to maintain this. Oh, no. It's not going to die because we have 3 health. So let's do this. Let's punch here. And I think we're actually going to go Guardian Defender and drop this Viper, because they don't have great options to kill this with. They could use the passive, I guess, to do that. But if they don't kill this, this is going to be annoying for them. So might soak up a little bit of pressure here. Okay, so they're going to get a favorable there. That's good for them. And to kill a clan is pretty annoying. Kill a can, rather. Kind of interesting that it has Tide as a 5-drop. Alright, well, let's definitely collect our Waystone. We could deal 6 to this. These will trade, though. But I think we probably are doing that. Because we don't really have another good way to kill this, and this just one-shots it, so I think we're going to go for that. Not bad. Our 4-drop trades with their 5. And if it backlash to kill this, that would be pretty valuable. So we could stun their Warlord, but I think let's Wild Host first, see what we hit. Oh my. Well, I should have Wild Host first, because I would have kept my guy. Jeez. I've never hit double Nadu Fireheart off of that ever. And this is the card I was talking about. Flying Flank, when it hits something, give everything invulnerable. That's crazy. Well, now I feel like a fool. Alright, well, let's go here. And I guess we'll just take out that unit. Jeez. Alright. Well, I learned something. You could just hit maybe double Nadu Fireheart off of your vehicle card. I think that's the craziest, like, random. So that's where a random card is really nice to have, right? Because you don't have access to these cards immediately. Oh, is this gonna hit my guy? Yeah, nice. So being able to just pull, like, draft a random rare or mythic or whatever this thing is, pretty insane. So now I could play this and give this invulnerable, which is pretty insane. Or I could play Fire Prism. How do I want to do this? So if I hit this, it could backlash and kill this. So I could kill this for free, but I think I just want to punch their Warlord. So I could go 3, 2, 2. Give this invulnerable. That seems kind of nice.
We must hurry.
Alright. Okay, I'm hurrying. So this will survive. Give that invulnerable. Yeah. And then this can attack for free, because it gets invulnerable. Oh, I should have played another unit. out here just to get the invulnerability. Wow, so that blew up and did 2 damage still, and it just didn't matter.
We will protect the craft well.
Yeah. Alright, well, those are some of the crazy... So this card, I think, is just one of the best cards for the Eldar. It costs 5. It costs -1 because of Wild Toast. Look what you get. You get 5 attack. It's got 4 health. It's going to give invulnerable to adjacent troops. Flying flank. It's just... You're getting so much out of this card. Alright, let's collect another Waystone. We're doing great in the Waystone department. Got 10 damage here. 13, 14, 15. We could go 3, 3, 2. And that seems pretty good. And we can keep things having invulnerable. I think this is how I'm going to play it. And I'll put this on the other side because it's got oh, this just spawns randomly. That's kind of annoying. Oh, he's got 3 attack because of that. So let's punch here to take that off the board. Which is nice. Attack here. Invulnerable. Get another 5. Oh, now I could kill this, I guess. But I don't really have to care about that anyway. This is just not allowed, I don't think. Not bad, though. Not going to be enough, but not bad. Man, I really want to open Nadu. Thing's so good. Okay, we've got all our Spirit Stones, and we don't even have any cards to use them, unfortunately. Alright, we've got, obviously, more than lethal. And we'll finish him off. Wow, what a crazy pull off Wild Host. I'm really glad we got to show that, because, like, I haven't played it enough, so I didn't want to, like, lead y'all astray saying that you were able to pull these random cards. But Wild Host was crazy. He just pulled double Nadu. So they both cost 3. Oh, so that unit costs 4? Is that correct? Yeah, wow. Yeah, so it's 4 energy for a 5/3 flying flank strike. Give your stuff invulnerable. It's so nutty. So, yeah. So this is the Eldar deck. This is kind of, you know, like I said, the caveat is I still just don't have that many cards yet because the duplicate protection doesn't exist. So it takes quite a while to build up your collection. But ever since I've been tweaking this the last couple of days, I've felt better and better about how it plays. And I think I've got some really helpful advice from Doles and from some other players. So again, shout out to them. And I do like the discourse on the Discord. See what I did there? Of just people like talking about meta already. I've always loved that part of the game. And I will say, from what I can tell, I don't want to give a preview of my tier list quite yet, because that's one of my favorite things to do. I do think that Eldar are in the top decks. That's what I'm willing to say. I don't think it's the best deck. I would need a lot more time with it. I'd need to play against actual players. And I actually had a friend, Wushu, get his key today, and there are a couple other folks who are getting it. So I'm excited to maybe figure out if we can like queue up some matches or try and stream, queue snipe each other. I'm a little high on the leaderboard, which I think does affect your pairing, unfortunately. So I don't know. To lose back down would take a while. So I don't know. We might just be playing bots for a bit until we get enough players where there are no bots. So anyway, I'm sure the video is long enough. So let me just wrap it there. Thanks all, as always. We'll have some more Warpforge video as I just kind of get some of my collection up and work on these factions. But as always, thanks for sticking with me, and I will catch you next time.